Why Sergio is working with non-metallic metal if just we have now pigments to represent metallics? Are you ready to learn about non-metallic metal? More about philosophy, about ideas in general, and everything about which means non-metallic metal and why I continue working with that technique if I have something easier like true metallic. So all that questions and ideas I would like to explain you in that tutorial. So which is a non-metallic metal? The NMM or non-metallic metal comes from the illustrations. So came from something out of our miniature world. This is the reason for some people think that true metallic metal is easier than painting non-metallic metal. So why we try to translate everything from 2D for 3D. So what happened here? It's interesting thinking about the canvas, the illustration from the past or for illustrations that came currently for video games, cinema, movies, or in general, just illustrations. So you can look for information on Google or books and you will discover what means that non-metallic metal. But the truth, in depth, we try to translate everything that came from that illustrations to our miniatures. So this is the reason maybe why you can understand it well, because you will discover a lot of tutorials talking about the non-metallic metal, maybe in different ways. I don't want to say that in wrong ways, because in general everybody talk by themselves and they try to express the best. But it's true that some of them are completely opposite or different than others. So what happened here with the non-metallic metal? Because it's a technique that comes from illustrations, maybe some of the big masters or teachers or YouTubers that you are watching, they learned from maybe other miniature painters and just that, and maybe some of them came in from other illustrations, and that illustrations came with some colors, some references, and others with other ideas. I would like to translate all that to something easier, or at least I'm going to try to do it. The value and the contrast. These are the most important when you want to represent non-metallic metal. If you want to paint in general something on your miniatures, don't care if it's leather, skin, white clothes, for example, the value for the non-metallic metal should be or have to be the highest value that you will see on your models. Because again, comparing with illustrations, you will see like the non-metallics or the metallic effects will look like glowing, shiny than the rest of the materials. So this is something that we have to translate for them to our miniatures. If you are painting other colors or other materials with higher value than non-metallic, the metallic won't look like you have on your mind. For sure, the sword will look the sword because the miniature has sculpted with that sword, but doesn't look like you keep on mind. Because if you are trying to think like the true metallic will work as the non-metallic metal, it's completely wrong. The non-metallic metal will be something that works when you take photos and when you see just in a single view. If you start to move the miniature like that, maybe won't work. Because you have to decide the correct angles to increase the lighting, to increase the midtones, to increase the glossy, to increase everything about that value, about that contrast. And the rest of the areas maybe will look flat or darker than should be. So it won't be possible rotate the miniature just watching in different angles and saying, here doesn't look like should be because it looks black or looks darker. So this is because in a canvas, you can't do it. This is why it works, and this is how you have to approach to the non-metallic metals. If you are thinking that should work in every angle, it's impossible and never will work. And there, it's where the typical mistakes appear. Then the temperature on that non-metallic metal. So the temperature in that non-metallic metal, it's important. So if you are painting that model in a cold temperature or in a desert, you have to play with different colors, with different temperatures, or because you're using desaturated colors for them will work. So how much important will be the desaturation on them? How much it's important about the saturated colors? Can we paint with saturated colors the non-metallic metals? All that questions I'm going to answer in the next video tutorial. Okay, so in this tutorial I would like to show you all my sentence and all the answers. So you can represent the saturation on the non-metallic, trying to represent the lighting reflected from all the other objects. For example, from the sun, from the mountain, from the snow, from the trees, all that colors could be saturated. But if we are talking about the main bright on that non-metallic, in my opinion, should be completely white or just white plus a bit from that temperature. If we are talking about the temperature from the sun, with a bit of yellow, that yellow could be warmer or colder. It's okay. But in my opinion, that value, because we are talking that the highest value should be on the bright, should has white on that. And if it's just pure white, will be better, because now you will know that the roof, the ceiling, the cap, the top higher lighting that you will have on your miniature will be pure white, because crossing that line, it's impossible. And that top color will keep it only on the non-metallic. So now you approach the value with the pure white only for the non-metallic. So the rest of the materials will be darker than this one. Just with that, we more or less can represent the non-metallic. Then, if you have to play with the desaturated colors, with the value, approaching the effect coming from something from 2D to 3D, it's really interesting to do it on a miniature if we have true metallics. The answer, in my opinion, will be yes, because it's like a challenge and because you can control everything. When we are talking that true metallic, you have some pigments and you can make some variations on them with some tricks that I will explain you in other tutorials. But in depth, with the non-metallic metal, you can paint the metallic effects without using gray tonalities. You can play with grays, with blues, with greens, with ochres, with many colors that you can imagine. However, with true metallics, you only have the option to use that pigment. For sure with some variations, but it's not the same. And then you won't control the value of that lighting, and then maybe the true metallic won't look brighter as other elements that you have on your model. This is why I prefer to work with non-metallic, because you can approach the value with the highest contrast or with the mid-level or with the shadows that you need in every moment or in every angle. This is why I recommend you to use non-metallic metal instead to use true metallic. But is non-metallic metal better than true metallic? Again, the answer for me will be yes, if you have to paint a single miniature, maybe 2 or maybe 3, and you want to get really incredible results on them. If you have to paint a huge army, for sure, go ahead for the true metallics because you will paint faster and the result on your tabletop will look better than the non-metallic. In my opinion, the non-metallic will work really well when you take photos and when you see only a single view. If you want to see really cool models on your tabletop, for sure, just go ahead for the true metallics because it will be faster and I think better for the result that you are looking for. But as I said previously, I recommend you to work with ideas that you can set well in your mind. That means that look for information about the non-metallic, but don't use realistic references, which one sometimes are okay, but other times are more complex than you can imagine. However, if you use illustrations, you will see really well how you have to work because the medium is so similar. If you try to use photos from something realistic, yeah, for sure, it's realistic and works, for sure. And you try to approach that. But in my opinion, if you are looking for illustrations that try to approach the idea that you have, you will see better the colors, the idea, the reflection, how they work it on that, because as I said, the non-metallic metal came from the illustrations. Thank you very much to watch that tutorial. I hope surprise you with that, and for sure I have some secrets to show you in the next tutorial about the non-metallic metal. I'm going to show you a full tutorial about non-metallic metal because it will be amazing, and I think I'm going to show you a lot of secrets. So remember, subscribe to don't miss it, and ready for the next one.